And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I am your host, David Streggy, and here I have my counterpart today, Septum Sim. Welcome, Septum.
Oh, well, glad to be here. Pardon the cats.
That's okay, okay, man. So the reason why I invited you on is we haven't exactly done a review together yet. So I figured we'd start with a newer film that hasn't exactly been given to larger audiences, and I figured I'd share it with you. And I have some merchandise to share with the audience that came with the campaign as well. So why don't you go ahead and describe describe what you saw?
Actually, I have one prop, and I will show you what I thought. It is when I saw this movie, something came to mind for me, and that was this series.
Okay.
Which is Thanksgiving series. Of course, the movie we're talking about being House Shark, I believe, is the title.
Correct.
And that's really what came to mind when I saw it. That sort of humor. It also reminded me, I knew somebody in college. To call them a friend, well, that would be a stretch. But this friend had a sense of humor. But it was a sense of humor that you weren't quite certain whether he was being serious or not. Even though he would say some of the more absurd things, you weren't quite certain, because sometimes he was right on as far as what he wanted. And that's kind of the feel I got from this film's humor.
Okay.
Sort
now,
of.
I tasked you to watch the Night of Something Strange, which is actually by a different director, but it works with the guy who directed this film, which evidently these two go back and forth. They work for Sub Rosa Cinema, and Jonathan Straiton is the name of the guy directing Night of Something Strange. Now, I know that we're going to try to focus upon House Shark today, but what were your thoughts on that film?
Well, I saw one thing that tied them both together. They both used that vending machine statistic.
Okay.
Because at one point in both films, the guy was like, you know how many people get killed by vending machines? I just thought to myself, that's an odd connection.
Okay.
Though otherwise, I consider them two very different films.
Yeah.
I mean, one was definitely trying hard to be a semi-serious horror film.
Okay.
It had its moments where I would say weren't so serious, but for the most part, I felt like it was taking itself very seriously. Whereas House Shark, no.
So you're saying that you can't exactly take House Shark seriously in any way, shape, or form.
It's like the film Dick Shark. You can't really take a film like that entirely seriously, and filmmakers know this, and that's how they treated the film. I mean,
in fact, I'm still waiting for Dick NATO to come out. But in any case, so we have a beginning of the story where we have a house that is sitting, well, we don't exactly know where, but it's evidently on a relatively retail market of sorts, but at least not until after certain events happen. So what do you think of the father character in our story?
Well, he started out seemingly like a normal individual, but as you go through the story, he becomes slightly Well, no, there's no slightly. Very much less so. A lot of the leaps of logic in this movie that make no sense usually start from that launch pad, the launch pad of the father being a little bit off the wall.
Well, before we get too much into more serious discussion, I'm going to show the audience a few of the things that came with the campaign. And actually, for those of you that didn't have anything to do with the campaign, it came. Now you could actually get this in a Blu-ray set or a DVD set. It comes with this particular, cover. It comes with a slipcase, and it comes with, a 2-disc set. You got the first disc, which has the feature, and then you've got the bonus disc, which has some, behind the scenes, whatnot, extras. So, but also what came with this were, of course, anything when you put money into a campaign such as this. Now, back in November, they actually did a campaign for it. And then they opened up the campaign again for when the discs came out. So it wasn't the first time that I was able to contribute. It was actually the second time that they opened it up. Now, it came with this nifty house shark pin. I don't know if you can see it, but came with a set of trading cards, which I don't know if the light can see it or whatnot, which you could almost think of them as, marketing cards, which they would pass out at the theaters back in the day. And of course, they came with, the regular kind of stickers, a patch you could probably put on like a biker uniform. In fact, I believe you could actually buy a leather jacket in the campaign that you could actually stick this on or something like that. But they came with a smaller poster of it. But then separately, this large, gigantic thing came, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what the hell is this?" So I opened it up, and it has 2 sets of 2 different posters. The one, yes, the one is a smaller one of that poster that I just showed you, and the other is actually of the scene that you see on the house shark slipcover. And let me tell you, this poster is actually relatively huge. So I was like, "What the fuck?" But it's kind of cool because both this and the posters are signed by the cast and the director. So this was something cool collector's thing. I'm just saying that before we get into this madness of the film, because these are some of the perks that came with, and I wanted to share some of these things that came with, because even if you think this film is fucked up, even if you think this film is fucked up, you got to think about the marketing behind it. So, go ahead.
So in theory, you could make a leather jacket, put the patch on, and you could form like a biker gang called the House Sharks.
Yeah, or something like that, and do your own trauma version of the West Side Story or something like that. I could see that happening.
I actually thought that the movie overall was really good, and it did have a lot of fun to it. I tend to specialize a lot in these type of, sort of B movies. X Strike Studios is one that I keep pushing, even though they're kind of out of business right now, though they have been talking recently about doing some comeback work. But that's another studio that kind of reminded me of that level of humor. Though, as I said, Thanksgiving did remind me of the humor the most. That was the closest reference I could think of in recent times.
Okay. Yeah, I still have to pick those up myself, but I do have copies around here somewhere. So,
And for the most part, as I said, I really did enjoy it. But there's a big difference, and I can actually point to both of these and show that difference in a way, because Thanksgiving itself is 66 minutes, fairly short film,
yeah,
but it gets to the point. It's hilarious. The humor is on point. Thanksgiving 3, and actually jumping from 1 to 3, there is part of the funny part of this film is 99 minutes, so a tad longer.
and believe it or not, a while back, I remember seeing that there was a Kickstarter, an Indiegogo campaign for a third film in that franchise.
Oh,
So I don't know when it's going to come out or whatnot, but I know eventually we'll probably hear something about it.
oh, I can't wait for that. But one of the things, but of course, the biggest drawback from this film, and I still say this is the biggest thing, is the length. Because remember, I said 66.99. Well, this film, House Shark, is 151 minutes and 151 minutes. Sorry, 1 hour and 51 minutes in length. 100.
And kid me not, wasn't there a moment where there was just a lot of dialogue?
Yeah, I feel like they really concentrated on some of the characters going back and forth, and maybe even trying to learn or flesh out the characters. But I felt like that backfired on certain ones, like the Abraham Lincoln-like character. I felt like in short bits he was more tolerable, but as he went on, I felt very annoyed by his presence on the screen towards the end.
Well, you got to admit, his character was kind of like a combination, like if Abe Lincoln and Captain Ahab from Moby Dick kind of had like a gay love child, and suddenly this guy was bored, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought it was an interesting character. I just felt like I think he was oversaturated in that, and I think that's what detracted. As I said,
for some reason, that fake beard just was not doing it for me. I wanted it to be a little bit more real looking, otherwise, when he had to touch people, that was his thing. Yeah. And when he had to touch people, then that beard was a little bit distracting.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the film was very well done.
I thought so too, especially the very beginning. And you can tell that the shark, was fake once it came out.
Well, yeah,
but you have to roll with the ride that they give you. It's kind of like a carnival ride. Okay, here's the fake shark. Now run.
That's about the humor. It's about absurdity. They made that very plain. There were many minutes where you had to sit and think to your brain, okay, this is not a logical progression of events, and you can't think logically. Level of humor. And as I said, back to when I said at the beginning about that friend of mine, well, okay, again, not friend of mine, who that sense of humor where you're not quite certain as to whether they're making a joke or not. It almost had that where you almost trapped into looking at that as reality, but then you have to pull yourself back away from it. I consider that actually a unique aspect that separates it from the ones I mentioned.
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of, because I had mentioned Dick Shark actually earlier on. that thing is 3 hours long, so I can't help but wonder if that's going to be any good or not at that point. By the time I get to the end of the second hour, I'm sure I'm going to be more waiting for it to end than anything else.
I hear you. And some movies, it depends upon the length and how it's paced. I mean, some people enjoy the slowness sometimes, but to me, I enjoy a relatively more fast paced myself. You want a movie to get to a point. You don't want it to go off kilter, too much. You want to get your point across that or maybe it was just a movie to be silly and just plain stupid. And although you got to admit there were some pretty cool effects.
Oh, I thought it was. As I said, I have no. That's my complaint with it is the length. Once I figure most every problem in the film I thought could be solved by cutting about 20 minutes. That's all I would say. 20 minutes out of the film, get a little bit of that waste, tighten up the dialogue. I think that the movie would be excellent at that point. Because I mean, the special effects were hilarious. I mean, I love the shark just because the thing had hands. It had like lasers. I mean, lasers. I mean, I don't know if you got that reference, but I'm pretty sure that's what they were.
Biological engineered shark.
I mean, to me, that went right back to the Austin Powers reference. Sharks with freaking lasers.
Which I'm sure that somebody from this film actually thought about that particular line from Austin Powers. You never know. So, but in any case, do you think that this could be widely liked by a lot of people?
Oh, I think it'll gain a good cult following. I mean, films like this, I believe, always have an audience. I mean, there's always going to be somebody like myself or people who love that sort of humor will find this film highly entertaining.
Now, do you get a sense that maybe there might be a second feature in there for this?
Oh, I think they're certainly setting it up for one anyway.
I think so too, and I guess we'll definitely have to see what happens in the future. Now, there are many films that are coming out from this company, whether it being distributor wise or from the director himself. So, if you like this kind of film, definitely check this film out. Like and subscribe to this channel as well as Septum Sims channel that he runs. This same episode is probably going to end up on his channel. So hopefully you enjoyed our little dialogue here. And what do you think? Do you think there's anything more to say about this film for anyone?
For those of you who love the physical media, it is coming out in July. I know because I have pre-ordered it. Amazon has it reduced to $10 as a pre-order right now. So if you want to get a hold of this movie, as I will, and I plan on doing, once I get a hold of it, I plan to re-examine it again. Maybe get a few shots in me or something like that, and just do a full out examination of it, go through the commentaries, look at the special features if there's any included in that version, and then come back to it to get a perspective. But if this is being watched on, of course, my channel, to check out the Inside Movies Galore channel, and there will be a link down below to that channel as well.
Cool. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you have found that this has been insightful again, we just go on and talk about these films so that people can know about them and enjoy them in their own right. Because I believe that every film, no matter how stupid, deserves to get talked about, even even if it's not even good. You know, I mean, these are why these films are out there to be discussed, and what could be better about them, and that's what I hope to encounter with Septum Sim here in the future. This will not be the last episode of us together, so definitely check us out later tonight. Where we'll be going on about Peter Benchley's The Beast, which was a made-for-TV movie, and there might be a couple of other reviews on some other adaptations of Les Miserables after this. So stay tuned for more film discussions, and like and subscribe our channels. I'll give this one to you if you want to say anything more.
I think you got it all covered, and I do appreciate this collaboration, and of course, introducing me to a very distinct and unique film. And if any of you out there doubt that I didn't think that I didn't fully appreciate the film, you don't know me. Besides, I've already bought the film, so that fact alone.
Alrighty, man. Well, in any case, check this film out if you can. It's definitely bound to be liked by some one out there. So stay tuned for more, and this was fun.